G'day everyone. Commo John here. It's what day is it? I think it's Friday, 1st of September, first day of spring. Hope you're all well. Listen, lots and lots of stuff being posted about The Voice, okay, and all that sort of stuff. I've sort of passed on, what I can of it. I think most of you know what's going on, so I haven't really flogged it. You know what I mean? Because uh, I've supported where I can, but I don't think it's going to get up. But okay, listen. There's a lady named Sandy. She rang a radio station up or something, and it's going to play after this clip. Okay, it's going to play after this clip. You're going to hear. She's an Aboriginal lady and or a tribal lady, First Nations lady, whatever they're referred to, and she's going to speak about what's going on inside of their ranks. Okay, she's going to speak about their infiltration and people who don't represent them, who've hijacked their movement, and are pushing agendas. Okay, so she's going to point this sort of stuff out, and I. I fully understand where she's coming from. Fully understand, mate. Okay, because I think the same thing's going on inside the freedom movement and inside this so-called truther movement, right? I think we've got a lot of infiltration as well. I mean, I was interviewed yesterday by Ricardo Basey from Australia, one a good lad, and I laid out that I think we've got three tiers, if you like, in this war against us that we're battling against. We've got this government tier, then we've got the shadow government, and then behind them we've got the deep state. And I think the deep state, mate, I think a lot of them are now sitting in amongst our ranks, okay, and not only our ranks but the Aboriginal ranks as well. Look, as an old communist, mate, I can tell you now, mate. The communists, mate, have had a lot of relationships, a long-term relationship with the Australian Aboriginals. Okay, they have. I'd go even so far as there's a lot of communists, mate, that actually had very, very good relationships with the Australian Aborigines, right? And cared very deeply for them, and vice versa. Very good friendships. Okay, occurred early days, right? Early days. I myself, I spent 5.5 years locked up in a boys' home, very brutal institution, and there was a high incarceration rate with Australian Aborigines from Cherbourg, from Warrabinda, from Palm Island, from up in the Tiwi Islands and so on. So I got to know a lot of them as well, and still got some mates of mine over in North Stradbroke Island who are mates of mine. There's been a long time relationship between the communists and the Australian Aborigines. Right now, the communists of today, mate, I can tell you now, they ain't the same sort of breed. When I was a young man. Okay. Um, there were some Aboriginals, mate, that were communists. I mean, one woman, Aboriginal, a poet and a writer, beautiful lady. She was on our $10 note, a lady by the name of Kath Walker, from the 1 Mile on North Stradbroke Island. I mean, she was an old communist. She was a writer, speech writer, and a poet, and all that sort of stuff. Eventually, she peeled off. The communist here in Queensland tried to end up writing her stuff for her, and she flicked them and went her own way. God bless her. She, although she was an old lefty and all the rest of it, mate, like she was rock solid when it came to her views on the way out of this, and that was for black and white to hold hands, man, for black and white to work together, not against each other. And she wrote a beautiful, like her son Dennis Walker. He died, 3, 4 years ago or something like that. They had his wake at the Little Ship Club. I was at his funeral, mate. There was a big, big contingent from Aboriginals from all over Australia there. But he was a wild boy, and he was a bit of a revolutionary in that. But his mother was always much kinder and much more conciliatory, mate. She wrote a beautiful poem. I'm going to drop that in on the credits so you can have a read of that by Kath. Her poem Ode to Dennis, her son. You know what I mean? It was a great tribute to him as a boy. Um, But look, lots of stuff. Listen to this lady, Sandy. Infiltration going on everywhere, guys, everywhere. And the Australian Aboriginal, all the black communities out there, mate, they have got lots and lots of rogue actors in amongst them, and lots of deep state in amongst them. I mean, people like Noel Pearson and Marcia Langdon and all these frauds that are in there. You know what I mean? And it's only right that you ask serious questions of all these people. I mean, what the fuck have they been doing, and how the fuck did they accumulate all their wealth? You know what I mean? So it's only right that all these questions are asked, because the poor old tribal people on the ground, mate, they're getting nothing. They're truly getting nothing, mate. To the point where they're becoming dysfunctional, and we've got to fix this up. We've got to heal all this, mate. The only way forward for Australia, mate, is with all of us, mate, black and white together, mate. We've got a common enemy out there that has had lots and lots of practice, mate, at splitting us up and pitting us against each other. But I know there's a lot of love, mate, out there by many, white European people, normal, people out there hanging out, mate, for the Australian Aboriginals, and I know vice versa. I mean, we played sport, we've been to school together, we've shared a lot of history, a lot of heartache, and a lot of struggle together. We have a common enemy out there, mate, that's trying to once again play us off against each other. People like Jeff McDonald, who wrote the book Red Over Black. Oh, people like me. I mean, look, mate, we know what's going on here, mate. It's a loss of sovereignty. Both for us as white people and for the Australian Aborigines, mate. It's a loss of sovereignty, right? That's what's on. It's a land grab, power grab, and all the rest of it, mate. Dressed up as all sorts of other bullshit, right? So it's got to go down. I'm confident the Australian people will see through it and will vote it down. So I'm confident of all that. And good luck and God bless to all those Australian Aboriginals out there, mate, that are speaking out against it, like Sandy and many others out there, mate. Lots of women warriors amongst the Aboriginals who are speaking out, but and lots of men as well. But good on yous, God bless yous, and Godspeed. Thanks, everyone.
Now, last Saturday morning, I received a call from one of our listeners, Sandy. And as I said at the start of this hour, since we aired that call, we have been inundated with callers and also emailers wanting to replay and hear it. Hear the call for those who may have missed it. Now, to set this up, Sandy called us and she is giving her opinions about the Voice to Parliament and the referendum as well. Now, this is entirely her opinion. It's not my opinion. This is entirely her opinion. And this is what she had to say in regards to the Voice to Parliament and the referendum on my weekend show last Saturday. And it is very interesting what she says.
I just wanted to share a couple of things because if you don't know, I'm an original sovereign tribal descendant. We've been dealing with a lot. There's a lot of infiltrating going on out there, and it's not coming from our people. It's coming from other sources that are pushing the yes agenda. People do not have any bloodline connection to our tribes, within our nations and our tribes and our clans. And the government are using other people to push the yes agenda into our communities. But not only that, majority of our people have not been consulted, especially our elders. They have been left out in the dark. See, under our law, under tribal law, right, they are our decision makers.
Yes.
So when you've got people coming into our community that are using the younger people against the elders, many of our elders do not understand, but many do, and many don't trust government. So when you come and actually sit down with the old people and you have that yarn with them, they will tell you no. Because if you go back to the 1967 referendum in this country, there was nothing but lie, deceit, against my people. They actually struck out clauses that disempowered my people, our people up on this continent. So you can go back to the 1967 referendum. Let's use as an example. Right, there was two clauses struck out, as you know, 51 in Section 51 and 127.
Yes.
So if you have a look within the Constitution of the trickery behind that actually disempowered the original sovereign tribal people of this continent. And what they did, they imposed laws, they created new laws that they would make laws over our lives and over our affairs, that the government will make the decisions. But see, the 1967 referendum, this was a trickery behind it, because you can't class us as citizens. You can't class the people that belong to that land. You can't class them as citizens in their own country.
So what do you class them as? What do you classify them as,
Well,
Sandy?
see, a lot of people think that we're in that constitution. See, this is history repeating itself. We were supposed to already be in there, Pete. So why are we going back to the drawing board to put us in again?
Yeah.
When that was already supposed to be done in 67. But yet when they held the 1967 referendum, what they should have done is that when they held the referendum, the constitution wasn't included. So when they amended it, they didn't tell the people that they were going to strike out my people, our tribal rights, and disempower us and class us as a race or whatever, and to make laws over our lives. See the trickery right there. And actually what it did was it gave Torres Strait Islander citizenship, PNG descendants citizenship, because you can't make us citizens of our own country. And this is where the trickery lied again. I can go further back into detail about what it led up to, but if you look at everything what Labor has done to my people throughout this continent, they have done nothing good but just pushed an agenda. And every time they're in power, they use our people for this agenda, using our people now to push the agenda and using the Australian people to vote it in. So my advice to all the Australians out there is no, because all our elders have not been consulted. They have not been called to the table. And when you're making decisions about all the tribes in this country, just remember another tribe cannot speak for another tribe.
So you feel as though, and your elders are just getting no communication from any politicians or anything. Is that correct?
Because they use the younger gen because they're greedy for money. They bribe them, they con them, and everything they're doing is that they're throwing all this money. Now, let's talk about all this money. They say that they want to... Linda Burney and them all, Noel Pearce and them all, you look at the same leaders that have been sitting there for so long. All they do every election when Labor is out and Liberals are in and Liberals out and Labor in, these black so-called leaders, right, just because of the colour of their skin don't mean they speak for us nor represent us, because the people out here at a grassroots level don't feel the same. These people are handpicked, cherry-picked, self-appointed without our input. So these people just swap seats. So when Labor's in government, these are the same people working together. They all sleep in the same bed. They're all eating at the same table. Believe it or not, we don't look at them as our representatives. They are not our leaders because they're just selling out our people and our country.
Do you have a message for the Prime Minister? What would you like to say to the Prime Minister?
Albanese, you need to be truthful to the Australian people. You need to be telling my people the true agenda, because there's two different kinds of sovereignty in this country. You can be sovereign to your own autonomy, right, within oneself. And then you got the sovereign to the land, which are the original tribal sovereign descendants of this continent. So when you talk about a referendum and that you want to put us in a constitution, we need it in writing that you will not, that this Australia corporate government will not supersede our sovereignty, nor take away our tribal rights over our lands that actually protects Australian people. The Australian people are protected under our national sovereignty, Pete. And this is what a lot of people don't understand when we talk about our sovereignty. And the Australian corporate government, you got to go back in 1973. You need to tell the people about 1973. Under the Gough Whitlam government, right, they never held a referendum to establish their corporation upon this continent. So how about they start there, go back in history and start telling the truth? A lot of Australians out there think that, the Aboriginal people of this continent, that we get all this money. Our people never see it because it goes through that many organisation, government agents that all look after one another, that it never reaches the ground, Pete. So it's been set in the mind, and a lot of Australians and our people need to come together in unity to realise that the greater strategic planning of the government is to know how to divide and conquer a people. But may I just say this, Pete? This country has never been run by Australia. If you think Australia is being run by the Australian government, you better think twice, because in 1973 they established their corporation, and it's actually being run by a foreign corporation. We are under foreign jurisdiction. Not really in their fake realm we are, but I'm telling you, we are being controlled by America, and this is where Australia needs to stand up against it, and we need to unite as a people. My advice and my message to the Albanese government is that stop selling out this country. Protect this country. Protect every human being upon this continent, and stop selling us out. Stop doing deals with the devil and start standing up for the people. Because the people, we need true leaders. We need true leadership in this country, Pete. And right now, they are not our leaders. The government no longer serve the people. And they need to be stood down, the whole lot of them. My people don't realise, Pete, once you put us into the Constitution, once we're voted into that Constitution, we automatically cede our rights over our land and our sovereignty. We now just became Australia corporate subjects or British subjects, whatever you want to call it. The Crown left here in 73 when they established their corporation. So when they say, oh, we will disclose, the government, Albanese and his government, we will disclose everything after the referendum. Well, this is a trickery again, Pete. Because once my people are put into that Constitution, not only have they ceded their sovereignty, you no longer have any rights over your country. You just signed it away.
There you go. So that was last Saturday morning. A call from Sandy in regards to her opinions on the Voice to Parliament, her opinions